What was that? Dot dot dot. It's no use. This just isn't enough. Not anymore. Chapter 1.
What a great opening.
Phrase. Everyone's homeless and poor and depressed.
Oh my god, it's so relatable.
Life.
Oh, what a nice shower.
Shower seat.
On a quiet corner of a residential block, Murase Clinic stood concealed among the rows of prefab houses. This tiny clinic first opened 7 years ago, privately owned and operated by Murase Takuma himself. Specializing in internal medicine, dermatology, and gastroenterology, Dr. Murase had an upstanding reputation that attracted patients not just from the local neighborhood, but workers from the business district too. The clinic opened its doors somewhat late at 10 a.m. From 1:30 to 4 p.m., Taku would take a long lunch, and then after he got back, he stayed open until 1 a.m. His unusual hours were deeply appreciated by night workers who couldn't find time to go to the doctor otherwise. I had a part-time job here at this clinic. In exchange for low wages, Taku let me sleep in the apartment upstairs on the top floor of the clinic. Below that, the second floor was home to the secondary medical ward full of hospital cots. The primary medical ward was down on the first floor next to the exam room. As for Taku himself, he didn't live here at the clinic. I never asked for this job or this rented room. It was all his idea. He wanted me to build character or something. That's why he never fired me, no matter how badly I overslept. Conversely, you could say he didn't put any stock in me whatsoever. I didn't fight it since it would only create more of a hassle, but I wasn't interested in improving my life. If he got sick of me and threw me out on the street, then so be it. I had no fear toward the future, not because I couldn't picture it, but because I had no real sense of urgency. I knew it'd all work out regardless. Or maybe I just didn't have anything left to lose.
He's naked. Oh
Yawn.
my god, smooth.
I know.
Oh
they move and
Oh
they
my
blink.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they're
This is
so like
advanced.
alive.
This is too advanced.
As soon as I walked out of the bathroom, a yawn escaped my lips. I hadn't bothered to dry my hair. Sleepily, I scanned the room with one blurry eye. Euphoria. On a whim, my gaze settled on the pocket watch hanging on the easel in the corner of the room. I can't remember when or where I got it, but Ray put it on the easel after he found it lying around somewhere in my room. That was a few years back. The watch itself was stopped, but I didn't feel like winding it, so it was basically just there for decoration. Instead of the non-functioning pocket watch, I looked up at the wall clock. It was just past 11:15 a.m. If I didn't hurry down to the first floor, Taku was going to come raging up here any minute now. I got dressed and left the apartment without bothering to lock it behind me. Then I walked to the elevator and pressed the down button. There was nothing in that apartment worth stealing anyway. I rode the elevator down to the first floor, then headed to the waiting room. Sitting at the reception desk where I worked was an uptight guy by the name of Arimura Tsukasa. When he spotted me, he scowled, rose to his feet, and left the desk. The look on his face screamed, "You're late." Technically, I was supposed to be covering the reception desk, but Arimura must have come in to cover for me. This happened on occasion, and that occasion happened a lot. An aura of faded blue swayed around Arimura. I called this colorful aura smoke. Apparently only I could see it. Each person had their own uniquely colored smoke, which shifted depending on their mental state. The most obvious change happened when someone was angry. The color would get muddy. I couldn't see my own smoke, however. No clue when I first started seeing it. From what I could remember, I used to think everyone could see it. Once I found out that wasn't the case, I stopped telling people about it. Was it some kind of superpower? Probably not. More likely it was proof of something that was wrong with me, like a hallucination. Hence, I generally didn't give it much thought. Yo. I called out to Arimura in spite of his resting bitch face. ... He was the most reliable nurse Murase Clinic had. Whenever his shift ended, he would go downtown to go drinking at a gay bar. Apparently, I wasn't his type. Toa-san. Look, I'm sorry I'm late, alright? No, I'm quite used to that by now. More importantly, I wish you'd take things to your room instead of leaving them lying around. Ugh. Or you prefer I threw it all out? All mail delivered to the clinic was taken to the staff room. Arimura was in charge of sorting it. Sometimes I would buy art supplies or books online, but other than that, I never got any packages. So if I received anything else in the mail, I just assumed it was junk and didn't bother collecting it. Yeah, go ahead. His eyes narrowed even further, but I ignored him and stepped into the staff room. The reception desk and staff room were divided by a single curtain. I pushed past it and arrived at the reception desk interior. Arimura gave me a dirty look and walked off down the hall. I've got more CGs!
They're on a roll.
From here, I would spend the next few hours bored out of my skull. The clinic was quiet, peaceful, and utterly devoid of stimulus.
He looks crazy.
This is your doctor. Do you trust him?
He looks like a patient.
He probably belongs in a mental asylum, dude.
Like if I was sick or something, and I came up to him, I would think that he needed medical attention more than me.
He escaped his room.
No, I was like, no, you can go first.
Also, Kay, doesn't he kind of like a penguin because of the dyed tips?
Stop!
Wait, he's Rico?
Oh, Rico!
He has like the scars. Then I set the medical exam card, insurance card, itemized bill, and prescription on the counter. Robotically, I processed the payment, then biting back another yawn, I called for the next patient to proceed to the exam room. Pseudo damage.
Drop.
Toa's Atelier. Today my shift ended in the afternoon, so I headed back to my apartment. He worked like 2 hours.
That's enough work for me.
I lounged lazily on the sofa for a while, then after the clinic closed, I headed back downstairs. No real reason, I was just bored out of my apartment. Another day of hard work over at last. As I sat slumped on the
Not messed up.
on a bench in the empty waiting room, Taku walked out from the hallway, his orange smoke hanging over him. Stretching his arms up, he turned his head from side to side, cracking his neck so loudly I half wondered if he broke something. Good work today. I didn't mean a word of it, though. He snorted at me. Wish I could say the same for you, Mr. Chronic Oversleeper. Hey, I worked hard. If you want me to believe that, then try waking up on time. Here. He pulled something out of his coat pocket and tossed it at me. I caught it and looked down. It was a can of coffee. Canned? Not fresh? Buddy, you don't deserve fresh coffee. That being said, he still treated me to a free drink as a token of his appreciation. Taku bought canned coffee in bulk and kept the staff room fridge stocked at all times for this exact reason. Sometimes when he was feeling up to it, he'd make a fresh coffee instead, but for the most part, he took the faster, easier option. Place the orders, finish the cleaning, I'm all done.
Is it the mullet guy?
I think it's the, yeah.
Janitor?
I hope he is. Right as I cracked open the can, the exam room door opened and a bubbly voice rang out.
Boy.
Peevis. I know you don't like gay people. It's okay.
Easy
The moment he shows, she goes.
Oh my god, she literally hates him so much. He already senses the bad vibes through the screen.
You watching right now?
Yeah.
Wait, actually?
Yeah.
Now we can't. Now we
Oh my
can't.
God.
Now we can't get him.
Yeah.
No,
Peevis
he's
said no.
Yeah.
It was Izumi Ray, one of the other part-timers. His main job was at a bar called Roost, but since they didn't open up until 5, he'd often pick up shifts at the clinic to fill the time. Evidently, he wasn't working at Roost tonight since he was still here so late. Our clinic employed 2 nurses, 4 part-timers, and 1 doctor. Great, thanks a ton. Smiling Taku looked over at Ray and raised a hand in acknowledgement. No trouble at all. Like, don't even worry about it. Good work today. But as soon as Ray laid eyes on me, he stormed right over to me.
Oh my god, Remy's pissed.
Excuse you. You totally overslept again, didn't you? Poor Arimura-kun had to pick up your slack. Just for a little. Don't try to justify it, mister. You were late. He put his hands on his chest and scolded me like he was my mom. But his smoke was bright yellow, and since it wasn't swaying, I couldn't tell he wasn't really that angry. Born to a Japanese father and an English mother, he had a well-sculpted face. Because of this,
Does he?
he was wildly popular with our patients, particularly women. God, will you stop causing problems for everyone? Our American takes his job super seriously, just FYI. Yeah, you tell him. Taku leaned back against the reception counter and cracked open his can with a smirk.
Loki need to take a shit.
Okay, well, we'll take a mini break because I need to get water. I haven't drank anything today.
Okay, it might take a while though. It depends if my poopy's gonna cooperate.
Okay, well, we'll take it.
I understand his struggle. Sometimes you just sit in the toilet and then, like, for me at least, I have stomachache and I'm like, oh, I got shit. And I go and I sit there and it does not come out for like 5 minutes. And I go, and I take a deep breath and I go, man, this sucks. And I pull up my pants and I go. I leave the bathroom.
What a great story. Thank you for sharing
You're welcome. You wouldn't understand because you shit like once a month.
Actually, I should today. So, be that.
Get your month quota.
I did hit my month
Congratulations.
quota.
Goddamn. Did it come out smoothly?
It did, actually. I've been eating my stew.
Oh, I need more fiber.
If you come over, you can have some stew.
Believe it or not, he was pretty well liked too. Hiding beneath that stubble and post-work fatigue was a manly, rough hone face. Alright, let me finish eating my M&Ms. Plus, the patients all praised his warm bedside manner. To them, his messy hair and stubble was rugged rather than lazy. Weird how this somehow never applied to me. Wait, where's Arimura-kun? Did he leave already? Yeah, a long time ago. Oh, well, thanks for staying longer than your usual shift, Ray. You were a big help. You're very welcome. You can thank me by buying me dessert sometime. How about parfait at the diner? Okay.
Okie
Okie dokie.
As I watched
so long.
Major FOMO. As I watched their conversation from the sidelines, my gaze
Like the sidelines.
drifted to Taku. You look tired. Your face. You look tired. Oh. You have huge eye bags. Oh.
Right.
Grimacing, he touched his cheek and
Offended.
sighed. Granted, he always looked tired, but lately it was more noticeable than ever. It was like the sinister music. What's wrong? Not getting enough sleep? That's part of it, but mostly I'm just drained. Mentally? Yeah. He let out an even bigger sigh. You know how most of our patients work the night shifts? During the day, we get kids and old folks, but once it gets late, we start getting a lot of night workers. Well, a lot of them have baggage, let's say, and sometimes they ask me for advice during their checkup. Oh god, he's getting trauma dumped.
Oh, you didn't ask for this.
That's why he doesn't go to work.
Advice? Oh, you mean like mental health stuff? Right, heavy stuff they can't tell their friends, like family problems, that kind of thing. I'm not a therapist, so I can't treat mental illness, but if they want advice, I try my best to hear them out. I can't just ignore them, you know? And if talking about it makes them feel better, then why not? Right. See, I've been doing it here and there for a while now, but lately there's been a lot. What, like more than usual? Yeah, before I'd get maybe 1 or 2 a week, but now there's a ton of them, and not only that. He seemed to remember something, he stopped short and looked away. It feels like the stress has been getting to a lot of them. Some of them will start screaming or crying in the middle of their conversation. I wonder what all that yelling was about in the exam room. I'd like to offer mental health care if I can, but there's just not a lot I can do. Thing is, when they're all worked up like that, I can't exactly tell them to get out, you know? Right, I did notice some of your appointments have been taking longer than usual lately. Yeah, and I keep trying to figure out what to do about it, but rubbing the back of his hand, Taku let out his third sigh of the night. But really, was it any wonder that more and more of his patients were starting to have mental health problems? Over the past decade, Japan's younger generation has been plunged into extreme poverty. A few years ago, you'd see people on the TV yelling about the 2030 age demographic's inability to save money or find a stable career, but now it was even worse. These days, you saw women curled up in their underwear on the sidewalk while men started fights and mugged strangers. Young teenagers were dressed in slutty clothes to work the corners. Compared to 10 years ago, there were a lot more murder cases, and many of them were either unsolved or dropped. The cops were useless too. They couldn't keep up with the growing number of criminals. But of course, here, under the Tako Satogumi's thumb, the Shinkomi police force was basically just there for decoration. The gig economy had been commonplace, so jobs were scarce, the cost of living was high, and wages were at an all-time low. These things all helped drive people to rock bottom, where they had no choice but to keep living. The nation of Japan was seeing povertization on a level that a few decades ago were never seen outside dystopian fiction. Shinkomi had a disproportionately large number of hospitals, possibly in correlation to the crime levels. Naturally, there were plenty of unlicensed or back alley doctors to be found here. These days, hospitals were probably had to serve as battered women's shelters on top of everything else. Like Taku said, doctors had a sworn duty to help people, and people here needed help, not just with their bodies, but with their minds too. So basically, you got a lot of nut jobs coming in. Taku and Ray both looked at me. Can't say I appreciate that term. I'm just telling it like it is. I downed my coffee, set the empty can on the floor, and rose to my feet. Where are you going? For a walk. Are you kidding me? Hello? Bye, guys. But I ignored Ray's frustrated retort, walking to the front door, and left the building. Exhaling white fog into the cold air, I reached into the back pocket of my pants and pulled out my cigarettes. I forgot to grab a coat, but I was too lazy to go back and get one, so I figured I'd be fine. As I walked down the dirty sidewalk, I put a cigarette between my lips and lit it. He's also a chain smoker. Hey, how was the poop?
Dude, it was like, I've never done that before.
You never pooped?
That's the first poop.
Thank you.
Oh.
I'm like no longer a poop virgin.
Oh my god, I'm so happy.
Thank you.
In Shikomi, the nights were long. If anything, it had only just begun. Like usual, I stumbled around town on a whim, looking for a one-night stand. Not because I was especially...
This is relatable. This is relatable.
more.
It's so jarring and not relatable.
Not because I was especially lonely or saw another human's warmth or anything like that. I felt no love, no passion, no desire. All of my emotions had rusted over. Sex was just the only way I could feel anything at all.
God.
Oh my god.
Well, not the
So
only
bad.
way. The other way was through violence. Fist fights.
Oh my god. That's not, literally not any better.
But what I wanted was an all-out brawl, enough to kill
Oh
me.
no, he's just crazy.
And I knew there were very few people in this world capable of that. Most people I fought held back, even just subconsciously afraid to hurt me beyond a certain threshold. Thus, there was no point in looking for someone special. Generally speaking, I felt very little in the way of standard human emotions. No idea when it started, but I probably wasn't born like this. Sometimes I got irritated when people nagged me too much, but for the most part, I held it in. Other people seem to see me as an unfeeling monster.
I wonder why.
But in rare moments, when I was overcome with powerful impulses, when I prayed for Vivian, that was when I truly felt joy.
Oh, he's a masochist to the extreme.
Really crazy, dude.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And while many people were too scared to enact violence directly, there were plenty of people in this town that loved to hurt people on the inside. So yeah, I had a lot of hookups. If you asked me if I liked sex, would say yes.
This is so unrelatable.
But I wasn't
Could be me.
interested in learning about the person attached to the dick, nor did I feel like telling them about me.
You only like dick.
I just wanted them to use me like a fuck toy and throw me away.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my
But that was a compromise I was willing to make.
He's spilling his deep dark secrets right now.
Yeah.
Someone, I need the doctor to enlist and start his therapy program.
I'm with you.
Someone needs to fix him.
No, he must remain broken.
The next day, I didn't work at the clinic, so I slept until noon.
Yeah, obviously you don't.
I awoke lying on my back on the sofa. I sat up, lit a cigarette, and took a drag. In the end, I never did find a hookup that last night. Instead, I picked a random bar, had some drinks, and went home. All in all, it was a pretty tame night considering the previous night where I drank until I blacked out. Because of that, it
God.
felt lackluster.
Like K for real.
I took my time enjoying my cigarette, gazing at the TV that had been left on all night. Then suddenly, a news cryon, I don't know, flashed up on screen. Takasato Gumi leader Takasato Ryujiro, 81, died of heart failure. ... My eye was locked on the white text. The leader of the Takasato Gumi was dead. Died. But then the surprise faded. For the record, I had been informed this man was my biological father. My mother was his mistress. In other words, I was his illegitimate son. That
Oh my
said,
God.
I had next to no memory of being around him. Frankly, I can only vaguely remember what he looked like. So I didn't have much of an emotional response to the news of his passing. It was just sort of, oh, he died.
So true.
I looked away from the TV and leaned back against the sofa. Just then, I heard a muffled buzzing noise and realized the cell phone on the far edge of the sofa was ringing. Sakaki? I don't know.
Sakaki.
I picked it up and looked at the screen. Sakaki was calling. I could also see a series of notices that indicated he'd been calling him for a while. He probably wanted to talk about my father, and if so, I wasn't interested. I dropped the phone back into the sofa without answering it. Cigarette dangling from my lips, I stared up at the ceiling. I had no real plans for today. Maybe I'd wander around downtown. With that thought, I took a long, deep drag. Accidentally smoke, I crushed my cigarette in the ashtray. Then I rose to my feet and pulled down my coat. Now, then, where to?
It's like Ace Attorney.
Oh, wait, what's talk to? Talk to myself? This is my studio. Oh.
Oh.
Oh god, it's like a real life map. Oh god.
Whoa!
Okay, we can go to We can get to the clinic, residential area, or the shopping street.
Shopping.
On your shopping street, baby.
Okay, let's go shop. This is Murase Clinic. Taku started up 7 years ago. For a small, privately run facility, it has a good reputation that draws in patients not only from the neighborhood, but the downtown area as well. The doors open a bit later than most at 10 a.m., but in exchange, Wait, did I just...
What you said.
Oh, well, whatever. Just then, I sensed someone's gaze and looked over. I thought I saw someone slip into the shadow of a building. Or was my mind playing tricks on me? He's like a penguin! ...
Whoa.
Stop, don't do that.
Yeah.
If you encounter someone during an exploration, try talking to them.
I don't want to.
No, he'll give us inspiration. We have to talk to him.
Ugly.
What is this?
So
What
you
is this?
It's you. You're Toa, right? Oh, we're already...
This is Evelyn.
No.
I've been assigned it.
Positive.
Okay, wait and see or play along.
I want to play along.
Play along.
Positivu. That's why they didn't change it. It's because they wanted to keep the voice line. ... So what if I am? You're Toa, right? And the reason I know is because he knows, right? He who? I was just surpass him. Hee! Or my name isn't Inada. There's no inspiration to be gained this time around.
Damn it.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know. Free exploration means inspiration is out there just waiting to be found. If you see blue text, you'll see blue text most often, red text is less common. Why is it going so fast? Okay, anyways.
That was awesome.
Okay, he's not giving me anything. I thought I didn't click Murase Clinic. I clicked Shopping Center. Oops.
We had to go to the tutorial first.
I guess. Daddies.
I bet he wants to
Ew.
go there.
This is the main street at the district of this is the main street at the center of District E. Oops. For the most part, residents of District E pass through here to do their shopping. With all the diners, convenience stores, discount stores, and drug stores packed in like sardines, it's easy to find what you need. The streets are busy, though not as packed as District D. Everywhere you look, there's people working or people getting wasted. The traffic light changed and the crowd started walking, but just then I spotted a familiar face out of the corner of my eye. It was Ray, carrying a paper bag in one hand. I got a new jacket. Oh, hi Toa. What are you doing here?
Yo.
Just wondering, you? On my way back from Tajima's. She gave me a bunch of stuff, so I thought I'd share some with Taku. Again. It was a thank you gift for helping her. Okay, we'll talk to him. Oh, that reminds me. I left a croquette in the fridge for you. Did you eat it? Oh god. I haven't eaten it. I ate a little.
I ate all of it. Fuck you.
Ew, fuck this guy. He's so ugly.
No, but he wants us to eat it. He left it. He left it for us.
Oh, no. We didn't eat any of it. We hate your croquet.
I haven't eaten it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Negativu. As if. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Anyway, I'm headed back to the clinic. Alright. Okay.
It's not moving though.
Okay, we'll just explore everything. This is District E's residential area. If you live in Shinkomi, chances are high your apartment is in District E. District E is full of skyscrapers, all of them high-rise condo buildings. It's an attempt to make the most living space out of a critically limited land area. The downtrot from all the skyscrapers creates strong winds in the area. Not to mention, the majority of these buildings aren't up to code, so if you get hit with a major earthquake, they'll probably collapse. But the residents of District E choose to live here anyway. Someone concerned with safety wouldn't dare to live in Shinkomi in the first place. Any talkers? This is District East residential area. Oh. Nothing. Okay, we'll go back. I returned to my apartment. When I left, the TV was on, but now the familiar static drone was gone. Instead, I could hear a faint rustling sound. Oh, hey, you're back. Yeah. Welcome home. I was just tidying up in here. If I put it off for too long, the whole place turns into a pigsty. Okay. Talking time. Seeing as you're here, why don't you help me out a bit? Too much hassle? Sure, why not?
No. No cleaning.
You're just gonna like the bitch route.
No, I don't want to do anything.
No. Negative.
You literally work there.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
What?
Figures.
Everyone thinks that. Everyone's like, wow, this guy's bitch.
Anyway, I'm out of here. Alright.
What? You just showed up to yell at him and leave.
Goodness.
Okay, we'll go to Tajima's. On one corner of the residential neighborhood sat a little old shop forgotten by time. It was a snack store called Tajima's, run for many years by a little old
Octogenarian
lady. In most cases, the expanding casino industry forced evictions on older homes and stores. But Tajima's fought eviction every step of the way and now is the last of its kind in the area. Fortunately, Tajima's was popular with middle-aged folks looking for a nostalgic taste of their youth. Plus, it attracted younger people curious about traditional snacks. Every now and then, I'd stop by and grab some. I wasn't a big fan of junk food or anything, but for some reason, the shop felt like home. I walked up, stood at the door, and peered inside. The cramped interior was packed to the gills with sweets and snacks of every kind. Hidden among them was a white-haired, stony-faced woman standing as still as a statue. Come on in. She sounded irritable. Reluctantly, I stepped inside. She's so small. But though she may have looked angry, she was always like that. Hanging on the wall above the clutter was a painting with a layer of black over it. I kept wondering about it every time I came by. It was the one thing that didn't feel homey like the rest of the store. Maybe the owner just likes spooky stuff. Are you buying it or not?
God, that's literally Obasan from DSV.
All grandmas are the same.
Comes back.
They have one grandma.
She snapped at me as I stood there without browsing. Her smoke was a deep, dark brown. This looks like she's farted. Not once have I ever seen it waver.
Is she a route?
Imagine.
No, that's straight. That's not allowed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he only likes cock.
I grabbed some stuff at random and brought it to the counter. Good grief, with every passing day, the city keeps changing. I'm terrified that one day it'll all go to shit. She muttered to herself as she pecked away on her antique cash register. This old woman was one of the few who had lived here since before Shinkomi became a casino resort, and she knew what it used to be like. She'd always blather on, regardless of whether anyone was listening, but some people found value in her stories of the old days. It was never this filthy before, I tell you. Used to be you could let your daughters play outside, but now the streets are full of sluts and whores, men and women alike. And you're one of them. You understand me?
Oh my god.
Yeah. I nodded absently. Truth be told, I liked her. It felt like she was the only person still living in the old times while the whole world changed around her. Because of that, she was an outsider here. Day in and day out, I hear about all this death and murder. Now when I see a dead body, I don't care. It's not right, I tell you. I'd sooner die protecting my store than lick the boots of that Yakuza scum. That would be 240 yen. I pulled a 1,000 yen bill out of my pants pocket and handed it to her. Keep the change. You sure? Yeah. Thanks for your business. She took the money without complaint. She handed me items without a bag, and for the first time, I stopped to look at what I bought. Then I stuffed it into my coat pockets and headed for the door. As I stepped outside, however, I realized the old lady had followed me out. Come by again sometime. She muttered under her breath with a scowl. I waved, then turned and set off down the street. Ooh, nighttime. Late that night, Taku, Ray, and I paid a visit to the local diner. Taku had promised to buy Ray a parfait, and tonight it was time for him to pony up. That said, the three of us usually ended up at this diner anyway, since it was still open when the clinic closed. I was downtown at the time, so they invited me over the phone. When we sat down at our table, Taku ordered the Salisbury steak special. Ray got the steak fried rice and a parfait, and I got a coffee. While they ate their food, I slowly sipped my drink. This was pretty commonplace for me, and yet every time it happened, like clockwork, Ray would tell me how it's not healthy and it's going to kill you one of these days. Soon enough, I could hear him grumbling about something, but the moment they put his parfait down on the table, his whole face lit up. Oh my god, these strawberry cream parfaits are so good!
He doesn't want to be there.
Staring out the window. He squeezed his eyes shut and squealed in delight. I bet the guy who makes them appreciates how much you like him. Taku sipped his post-dinner coffee with a wry grin. He wasn't a big fan of sugary stuff, so he couldn't really relate. I'll appreciate anything he wants to make because he's doing great. Ray stirred his parfait with his spoon, a dreamy smile on his face. That only lasted until I put a cigarette between my lips and started to light it. Excuse me. Excuse you, I'm still eating here. Uh-huh. Then you, me, mister? We're in the smoking section, remember? Yeah, but there's such thing as common decency. Taku already quit, so you should too. This may not mean much coming from me, but trust me, there ain't nothing good about smoking. I ignored their complaints, lit my cigarette, and took a drag. Instantly, Ray's smoke went from yellow to red, mingling with the cigarette smoke. I swear to God, everything's cigarettes and alcohol with you. You're such a great artist, but you're so boring. Ray let out an exaggerated sigh. Sulking, he put his elbow on the table and his chin in his hand. All the most famous artists were weirdos, you know, alcoholics, womanizers, all different stripes. Maybe it's that weirdness that makes them so artistic. I guess so, but I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't make them fun to hang out with. At all. Well, you're wasting your time complaining about Toa. He's always been like this. It was the harsh truth. And yet, he has a secret cute side. A devilish grin crept up on Ray's face. Cute side? I'm talking about that little bunny plushie you have in your room. You say you don't care about it, and yet you never throw it away. You like it, don't you? No? No? I did have a bunny plushie in my apartment, but I wasn't particularly attached to it. I just randomly spotted it in a store one time and wanted to buy it, so I did. I haven't really touched it or thought about it since, and now it's sat collecting dust in the corner. You sure you don't snuggle with it at bedtime? Oh my god, are you secretly, like, super adorable? As Taku teased me, Ray joined in. Ignoring their idiocy, I turned away and took another slit drag of my cigarette. That reminds me, aren't you going to the deathmatch area tonight? No, not tonight. One of my teammates had to cancel. Oh, I see. The deathmatch area was a special section of town located in District A at the center of Shinkomi. It was once ground zero for a lot of Takasato Gumi infighting. As a result, the whole district was torn apart and residents were barred entry. Naturally, this attracted a lot of seedy types. Eventually, it became known as a place for fist fights, and people started using it as a battlefield to test their strength. Nowadays, anyone who wanted to fight could meet up in District A to take part in what was now referred to as a death match. Of course, that the Takasato Gumi had noticed this, but they chose not to interfere. Here in Shinkomi, plenty of people were frustrated with the tyranny of the Takasato Gumi, not to mention the struggles of living in poverty. So the Takasato Gumi let them have their death matches in District A if it means they could vent their stress. Their one restriction, they would hassle anyone who tried to live there or start business there. Other than that, the Takasato Gumi didn't get involved. Believe it or not, taking part in death matches was something of a hobby for Ray. He always went with his buddies from Roost. Supposedly, they were actually among the top contenders, but death matches weren't my thing, so I didn't know if that was true. Judging from their looks, you wouldn't think that they were seasoned fighters, except for the rare occasions they turned up sporting cuts and bruises. I don't mind if you're just having a little fun, but don't get too crazy. Lately, I've heard there's been some real nasty types lurking around. Yeah, I know, but it's super fun to kick their asses. Nothing feels better. Alright then, I imagine the Takasato Gumi is gonna have a rough time ahead of them, so both of you just keep your heads down. Don't know if the low-ranking goons will start any shit, but the bigger ones almost certainly will. That's okay, they can try, and I'll just shut them up with my fists. To prove his point, Ray flashed up his fist. Taku grinned Riley. Save the punching for your death matches, alright? Oh, I will. You bought me a parfait, so I'll do whatever you tell me, to be honest. It was super good. Thanks a bunch. In a blink, Ray had polished off his parfait. He set down his spoon with a satisfied smile. Well, we've got to go to work tomorrow. Let's call it a night. Right, see you tomorrow. And Toa, you better not get some actual sleep. No bar hopping, no hookups, you hear me? Yeah. With a non-committal response, I crushed my cigarette in the ashtray. Taku rose to his feet, grabbed the check, and took it over to the register. Thank you for treating me. Right as Ray got up, he suddenly turned back to me. Wait a minute, he's paying for yours too? Well, I only ordered a coffee. Whenever we went out to eat, Taku would always pay for my order, probably because it was only one extra drink. Ray donned a melodramatic frown and glanced at me out of the corner of his eye. Everyone always waits on your hand and foot, don't they? Are they scared you'll wander away like a stray cat? Beats me. I shrugged, and together we headed for the exit. Pseudo damage. The next day, I wasn't scheduled to work at the clinic, so I woke up around noon. He just never works.
How does he fucking support himself?
Well, I mean, he lives rent-free, basically.
I guess he doesn't, yeah.
Taku came up to my room on his break and invited me out to lunch. Ray wasn't scheduled to work until later in the afternoon, so he wasn't around yet. I got dressed and accompanied Taku out of the building. I've got more places. Thank you for waiting. The manager set down 2 mugs of coffee, followed by 2 plates of their famous honey toast. I want honey toast.
Wow, I'd smash that guy.
The old man.
Yeah.
Once everything...
He looks like KFC guy.
Colonel Sanders?
Yeah.
Once everything we ordered was on the table, he bowed quickly and headed back into the kitchen. In these parts, Yanagawa Cafe was a popular lunch spot. The place first opened over 20 years ago, and the building's retro, outdated style offered its own special charm. It was about a 5-minute walk from Murase Clinic, so I often found myself here. It all started when I was walking by one day and saw the dimly lit interior through the windows. It caught my interest, so I went in, and the rest is history. The cafe always played jazz music over the speakers, and the customers were relaxed. Their prices were relatively high, but seeing as they were still in business, they clearly had enough regular customers to keep them afloat. Oh! I'm so hungry. Oh.
Peko des.
The cafe's biggest selling points: freshly ground coffee and honey toast. Even Taku liked their toast, and he was notoriously uninterested in sweets. Alright, let's eat! He pressed his hands together to say Grizz, then picked up his knife and fork and started cutting up his toast.
It's like really well rendered.
Yeah, his HD toast.
No, it's like so good looking. Holy moly.
I crushed my lit cigarette in the ashtray and took a sip of my coffee. I can never get enough of this stuff. That's saying something, coming from a guy who never eats dessert. Yeah, maybe it's the natural sweetness of the honey mixed with the texture of the toast. Reminds me of the pancakes I'd eat as a kid. Like, they've got you eating it, and you hardly eat anything. Yeah, I don't know why, I just kind of eat it. Are you kidding me? Laughing, Taku slid a forkful of toast into his mouth. In a moment, he had somehow already eaten half of the damn thing. Only then did I finally pick up my own knife and fork and start eating. So anyway, I guess there was this crazy dude there. What do you mean crazy? What kind of crazy?
This looks like the guy from Chainsaw Man.
He's gone now, but maybe they'll probably appear again. As we were busy eating, the conversation from the table next to us carried over, filling the silence. I mean crazy, like crazy strong. Everybody saying, no, this is probably the other one.
Wait, that's Dingy, and the Aki's the other one.
Said he was ridiculously OP.
This is like something he would say. if he was like emo.
You see the plant in the back? It looks like his
it looks like his thing.
We stay there.
I literally thought it was his hair for a little second. I mean, the Takusato Gumi's been scouting all the strongest deathmatch fighters, right? So of course he's strong.
Oh, thank you. For a fraction of a second.
Can I be Saki? I mean, what's his name? Aki?
Yeah, it can be Aki. Okay. Taku fell still. Yeah, I mean, like, really strong.
How strong is really strong?
I'm talking poker face, one punch KO kind of strong. For real, you do not want to fuck with this guy. They say he went rogue against the whole gang.
For real?
Yeah, man, he killed his Anki and got out of there.
What? Like his older bro?
No, stupid. You know those Yakuza types have a hierarchy? Your Anki's like your boss.
Oh, that kind of Aniki. Wait, but isn't that like dishonorable or whatever? Like deep shit?
The deepest shit, man. That's why the gang had him punished. It made him go poof.
That's one hell of a punishment, alright. I bet the Takusato Gumi could disappear a couple guys, no problem.
Taku finished eating his honey toast in silence, but his expression looked stiff. Probably due to the subject matter. In this town, you couldn't walk 2 steps without hearing someone gossiping about the Takusato Gumi. Some of it was true, a lot of it wasn't. But like a game of telephone, a lot of details got lost along the way, so only a small fraction knew the facts. The guys next to us were just recounting stuff they'd heard from elsewhere. Almost every rumor was tarnished with embellishments born of speculation or assumption, and this one was no different. It wasn't easy to discover the unvarnished truth buried beneath. For example, I would never know the real Taku, and he would never know the real me. Just because we've known each other for years didn't mean we understood everything about each other. Then the subject matter changed to something else, and a few minutes later, the 2 guys left to pay their bill. Once they were gone, Taku finally broke his bitter silence. Golly! Those Yakuza sure are popular, aren't they? I ate my cold toast without responding. As it happened, I knew the guy they were gossiping about. I knew a lot about him, in fact. Believe it or not, that fight happened while I was still in the gang. But I didn't want to remember him, so I actively avoided thinking about his name or face.
Not convenient.
They probably just don't have anything better to talk about. I shrugged, and Taku nodded silently, slightly still grimacing. I guess so. Meanwhile, unpleasant memories rose to mind. I first joined the Takasato Gumi back when my mother died. When I was in middle school, she died in an accident. Then a yakuza named Sakaki came and told me she was his gang's leader's mistress. Then I learned that his name was Takasato Ryujiro, and he was my father. As a kid, I only know Sakaki as a good friend of my mother's. I never knew he was in a gang. After her death, he tried his best to look out for me. Then one thing led to another and I joined the Takasato Gumi. No real reason, he invited me to join, so I figured I would. To him, my mother was a dear friend and he would always reminisce about her. Because of that, he didn't feel like some yakuza thug, he felt like family.
Wow.
As for my actual family, I couldn't remember much of them or anything happened prior to my mother's death. I vaguely recall a little sister. He has an emoto.
No, maybe it was like his half sister.
Oh my god.
I mean, if the yakuza be banging a bunch of people.
I guess, yeah. He has many sisters.
Many siblings.
That's why he can't bang any chicks, because they could all be his sisters.
That's so true.
It's okay if it's his brother, though. I vaguely recall that I had a little sister, but I couldn't remember what she looked like.
No winning.
At the time of my mother's accident, I was injured and sent to the hospital. Maybe that had something to do with it. Ugh. I stretched the eye patch over my right eye. There's no point in looking back. It was all in the past. Even without my childhood memories, I was right here, living and breathing. I looked down at the table. Taku had stabbed his fork into my cold, half-eaten honey toast. Then without batting an eye, he dragged it over to his own plate. You're gonna eat that? You don't want it, right? He made it sound like he was entitled to eat my leftovers. He had a point, though. I wasn't planning to eat the rest, but still. I laid my knife and fork to rest. Then I lit a cigarette, took the longest possible drag, and then blew it all back at him. Ugh, hey, stop that. I only managed to kick the habit, you know. Grimacing, Taku waved a hand in front of his face. Well then, I'm testing you to make sure you're still not addicted. Save it for later, I'm eating. I fixed him with an impish grin. Scowling, he went back to the rest of my honey toast. As he wolfed down a few more bites, I smirked at him. What? You got a hearty appetite, that's all. And you don't have much of an appetite at all. He wiped his mouth roughly with a napkin and rose from the table. Come on, let's go. He grabbed the check and headed over to the register to pay. I crushed my cigarette into the ashtray, then followed after him. After we left the cafe and I parted ways with Taku, I wandered around town for a while. Then, once the sunset, I headed to the park. The place was deserted on a winter night, and the white glow of the street lamps made it look even more desolate. I sat down to the chilly metal bench and lit another cigarette. I wasn't ready to go home yet, so I was trying to kill time. As I watched the pale smoke float up into the dark sky, I heard a commotion in the distance. Several pairs of footsteps were approaching, and when they passed under a street lamp, I recognized them instantly. Oh my god, his nipple's peeking out.
Xenia?
Xenia!
Xenia!
See, I told you it was Toa.
Is that his nipple? It's like a gunshot wound.
Yeah, not his nipple.
They don't even have nipples.
No, he does. Well, his ones are probably hiding. Well, you're right. Toa-san. Alba!
Oh my god!
It's light blue!
Oh my god!
Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji were three guys I knew very well. They walked right over to me. You've got good eyesight considering the distance and how dark it is out here. Yeah, I have eyes like a hawk. I can see everything very clearly. Given how much anime you watch, it just doesn't add up. No, anime trains my eyes.
What?
Okay.
You watch anime?
Anyway, Toa, what are you up to out here? tanned, muscular Kotaro bent over to get a good look at my face. You say he had a wild side or a short temper, depending on how you looked at it. Were you staring into space, thinking dirty thoughts? Ah! Mayu cackled around the lollipop in his mouth. He was the tallest and leanest of the three, and he dressed like he found his clothes in the dumpster.
Yeah. I love that. Like, I love how like the middle guy's like his like leather jacket's like so cropped.
Why don't we set off a bomb or two for fun? That'll wake you up.
Damn.
The guy in the beanie was AG. He was an expert at information gathering and bomb assembly. Using the power of social media, he has a vast information network that he used to collect all kinds of intel. I slept with Kotaro and Mayu a couple of times out of the bedroom. Boredom, but never with AG. He told me he wasn't really into sex stuff.
He's got like his like, oh my god, it's like, what is that, like cleaning commercial with like the big like marshmallow guy? That's what he has on his leg.
Oh my god.
That's what he's wearing on his leg.
The Michelin Man.
Yes.
That's a tire.
Yeah, that's a tire. Kotaro's smoke was red, Mayu's was fuchsia, and AG's a bright blue-green color. I was just having a smoke. You said you're bored, huh? Want to come with us to the deathmatch area? With a grin, Kotaro straightened up and jerked his chin in the direction of District A. Too lazy, pass. I knew you'd say that. I knew 100%. Ah! Not like you have anything better to do, right? Just humor your former blood brothers and come with us.
Blood brothers?
Blood brothers? I never performed any sake ritual with you. Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji were all former guns for hire that got recruited by the Takusato Gumi. Kotaro and Mayu were scouted via death matches after they proved their fighting skills. As for Eiji, supposedly he got invited to join after he hacked the social media accounts and websites for one of the Takusato Gumi's businesses. Of course, they were by no means the only people recruited this way. In fact, I've heard of people taking part in death matches specifically to try and get with the gang. Speaking of rituals, Toei, you didn't show up for your old man's funeral. Kotaro smirked. Like hell I would. The funeral was this afternoon and there was a midnight vigil last night. Cool. You really don't care at all, do you? Nope. I sincerely didn't. What did it matter to me if some total stranger kicked the bucket? Whatever. Now let's get to the deathmatch area, come on. You might like it if you give it a try. No chance. Then what if we set off a bunch of bombs and blew up the whole place sky high? That'd be really fun for a second or two. Until we die, dumbass. Ouch. Kotaro snorted and flicked Eiji's forehead. Quit your bitching, let's go already, Toa. Come on your feet. He grabbed my arm and hauled me against my will. Once he had his mind set on something, it was impossible to get him to change it. He held a firm hold on me as we walked like he was worried I was gonna bolt.
Oh my god, but he loves that.
He loves non-con. The higher-ups told us to stay out of the masses so we can't do a damn thing, but you can fight your little heart's content. Man, I envy you. I'm just aching to get back into it. You still get to beat people up when you're out debt collecting, right? Well, that's our job. It's their fault for not paying the money.
Oh yeah.
You say that, but you two sure love to chase them up and down the street. Me, I'm way too scared. Liar, you don't chase anybody because your job is digging up dirt on them for blackmail. Yes, of course. Here in Shinkomi, I'm a master of intel and bombs. Eiji donned a big cheesy smile and Kotaro scoffed. Why does it sound like Persona music?
It's good.
Here in Shinkomi, as the poverty gap widened, there were many burdened with large debts. Any debtor unable to make payments was mercilessly hounded by Takusato goons. And if that debt reached a certain size, the debtor would get a chip known as a web tag implanted in them. Web tag debtors were then tracked via surveillance towers erected all over Shinkomi. They were forbidden to step out of the city until their debt was repaid. If they tried to leave, the Takusato Gumi would send pursuers to hunt them down and kill them. No questions asked.
What the?
You might wonder how the gang got their money back if the debtor was dead, but corpses had plenty of monetary value. Come on, if we're going, then let's just go. I want to get home and watch my anime I recorded.
Ah!
No, he's such a loser.
Mayu was already looking away like he'd lost interest in the conversation. Will you shut up, you damn anime otaku? Anyways, don't you think that Sparrows had too much popcorn? So greedy, looks like it's gonna pop. What? Where? I don't see it, but I guess nobody with regular old human eyes can compete with yours. What? Maybe you all should watch anime like me. Let's watch anime. No thanks.
Oh god, that's so bad.
Loser.
Cow.
Can we get a route with him so we just watch anime?
Yeah.
Anime route. Damn. Trapped in Kotaro's tight grip and stuck in the middle of their inane banter, I left the park behind. District A, also known as the deathmatch area, was a forbidden place to the average citizen, not that they'd want to visit. Because no normal people ever came around, nearly all the shops had closed their doors for good. The deeper you traveled into the district, the rougher and dirtier the city became. The place was busiest at night, by some unspoken rule, that's when everyone showed up.
Final boss music.
As the four of us walked to the heart of the district, District A, the sounds of scuffling and jeering grew louder. Ooh boy, they're really going at it tonight. Kotaro grinned. Here, unlike anywhere else, the air smelled like of dust and copper. And unlike anywhere else, everyone's smoke was full of chaotic energy. The countless colors shifted and blurred together like an aurora of reject crayons. Nice and peaceful. I think they took the hint after last time. Oh, you mean the guy who was going around firing his gun? Yeah, they strung him up good. Are guns banned now? Eiji shook his head in response to my question. No, there's no explicit rule outlawing them. It's all unspoken as usual. But there have been a lot of sore losers lately who bring them in anyway to try to get their revenge. Technically, deathmatch rules permitted the use of weapons. However, weapons gave the armed fighters a huge advantage over the unarmed, so there was an implicit agreement among the participants not to bring any. Nevertheless, as Eiji said, some came armed regardless. These types were seen as cowards, and they were sometimes lynched as a warning to others.
God.
We tried to save the poor bastard, but then he turned the damn gun on us. He was asking to get the shit kicked out of him. And even if he wasn't, like, you bring weapons here and you're gonna start more fights. So when you find one of those shitheads, you kick their ass, take their piece, and string them up. Works like a charm. If war broke out over a deathmatch, people would start blaming the Takusato Gumi. Shinkomi, as we know it, would be turned upside down. And no matter how chaotic the city may seem, there's a delicate balance that has to be upheld. Keeping the peace, in other words. As I listened, I thought to myself, what does peace even look like here in Shinkomi? Once you fell into the depths of hell, you wouldn't be climbing back out again. No, you'd have to make your peace down here. And our little rock bottom society played by its own rules. I was merely a cog in the machine. But believe it or not, I kind of liked it down here. Nothing worth caring about, nothing that could tie me down. In that sense, yeah, maybe it was peaceful. A nearby ring of onlookers started to cheer, and I looked over. A rainbow of smoke blurred together, flailing wildly. But I watched it all with cold indifference. So damage.
Yay!
Fight.
No, he's like, no, I'm done. After I left the deathmatch area, I was sitting in
Find another man.
some random bar getting drunk when my phone buzzed. There was a new message in the group chat between me, Ray, and Taku. Taku, got a call about a critical patient. Come over ASAP. Oh god, I didn't get to read all of it. I thought they were just gonna tell it. As it happened, I was thinking of going home anyway. Cigarette between my lips. I paid my tab and walked out. A few minutes later, after I arrived back at the clinic, Ray showed up. The patient was gravely injured, but this was no ordinary patient. A group of men, possibly the guy's buddies, carried him in through the back entrance. His shirt was stained red with blood. All of them were wearing flashy clothes with lots of accessories. They weren't innocent civilians. These were Yakuza.
Yakuza at the hospital.
Oh shit.
Oh, man.
Most of the many medical facilities in Shinkomi claim to refuse service to gang members. In reality, a lot of them accepted those same patients behind closed doors, and this clinic was one of them. We were so often visited by Yakuza, you'd think Taku was one of them. Word on the street was that he earned the Takasato Gumi's trust. Sometimes he would suddenly close the clinic or change office hours just to accommodate these special patients. Out of respect for his civilian patients, he made the gang member bring their wounded in through the back, but it was an open secret at this point. This didn't scare off any of his regular patients, however. Doctors as good as Taku were hard to find. Besides, the residents of Shinkomi accepted that these things came with the territory of living here. I need to undress him. With permission?
Ooh.
See? With permission. Ray began to remove the patient's shirt.
They put that in really.
Yeah, he believes in consent, unlike Toa.
They're like, Toa wouldn't ask.
The man was sweating bullets, gritting his teeth to endure the pain. Stripping him revealed a stab wound in his side, covered in blood. He's bleeding a lot, but the wound itself doesn't look that deep. Frowning, Taku examined the cut and started patching him up. Ray and I assisted him as needed, following orders as he gave them. There. After he finished administering first aid, Taku let out a long sigh. The patient had regained a lot of his color and his complexion when he first arrived, and he seemed calmer now. How bad does it hurt? If you need to, you can stay here a while to rest. Nah, that's alright. Grunting, the man tried to push himself into a sitting position. Taku held out a hand to stop him. You shouldn't be moving around right now. Higher-ups told me to get back ASAP. Ignoring Taku's request, the man sat himself up regardless, and clutching his bandage on his side, he slowly hopped down the exam table. Thanks for all your help, Doc. ... Taku didn't bother trying to stop him. He knew precisely what kind of world this man lived in. The man snatched up his neatly folded shirt and started walking, pressing his hands against the wall for support. He left, accompanied by his associates. I'll walk them to the door.
How polite.
Ray hurried after them. They would be leaving through the back the same way they came in. The man's medical expenses would then be billed to the Takasato Gumi directly. As Taku and I tidied up the medical equipment, Ray came back into the exam room and let out a giant sigh. Ugh, God, I can't stand it. Nothing we can do about it. We can't force them to stay, you know. I mean, like, I get that. I just hate to let them leave when they're in such bad shape, but they're grown adults, so I get that it's their call. You can't make them do anything they don't want to do. Yeah, I know that. Ray nodded to himself sadly, his eyes on the floor.
Oh, he's so compassionate.
I'm like a